me, this is the most important part here. Because when I, in my early times, was telling people about crypto and stuff, and at the end of me telling them everything they needed to know, the one question they say, or the look that they're giving me on their face is, why should I care? What does it mean for me? I don't see Bitcoin, and it's not something you can touch. You know that whole out of sight, out of mind mentality. I just go on, I go home, get in my car, and go on with the rest of my day. And this is a piece that I think is missing in the conversation when we talk about this technology. Why should you care about cryptocurrency? And it's very simple. It is a revolution. It's a revolution that's taken place in front of everybody's eyes, and most people are not taking advantage of it at all. I'm going to break this down in simplistic terms when it comes to money, because somebody said this to me, and I understood this. Most people are always wondering why they're broke, why they don't have money, why they can work hard day in and day out. My grandfather taught me no matter what you do, you be the best at it. And growing up, I learned another simple truth and a fact. The hardest working people in America are also the brokest people in America. Working 2 or 3 jobs, breaking their back to make ends meet. And I saw that the people that's hanging out at the golf courses, that have yachts, that are on the beach, not working hard, seemingly having lazy lives, are making all the money. What is the difference between them and the rest of us? What knowledge and information do they have? They put on their pants one leg at a time, just like everybody else. Sometimes there is an advantage that they might have been gifted with an inheritance or be put in privileged situations. But because of cryptocurrency, even the people who look like me can no longer say the system is why I am no longer having success. The system is designed to hold me back because of the color of my skin. The system is designed and built to keep me in prison on fraudulent charges. All this other stuff and being passed down. One thing that we do have control over that is nobody's fault is how we spend our dollars.
It's true.
In any community out there, money transfers in the community 7, 8 times before it leaves. In the African American community, money travels not even a full circle before it leaves. That's something that each and every one of you can control yourself, but we also want to show you how to have the money in the first place and have generational wealth for all families. So there is always an abundance of money. There's no money is like, there's not a lack of. Most people think there's never enough money. The car always break it down when it really is due. Something's always coming up where I don't have enough money. That's not true. There is more money in this world today where every single man, human, and child can live comfortably. Right now. It's just you gotta know where to fish for it. So imagine money on a river. And I explained this to my little boy, my 11-year-old. And if you have kids, you definitely want to teach them about this crypto stuff. There's a book you can order. It's called The Early Bird Gets the Bitcoin. And it was written by an 11-year-old boy. The Early Bird Gets the Bitcoin. I bought that for my 2 sons to read. I forced them to read it. They don't care about any of this yet. But I forced them to read it so that they have the knowledge when the time is ready. They already know what's going on. So, money is a river. Anybody ever watch the movie Finding Nemo?
Yeah.
And remember that they call it the North Atlantic, it's like a river in the ocean that allowed the turtle to just glide by and move fast. And it wasn't a straight course. It changed, it moved, it winded in all turns. That's money. Money is a river. It's a never-ending river that never stops and never runs out. And what happens is the rich people have yachts, they have oil tankers, they have fishing boats and rigs, and they're sitting in the middle of this river of money. And they have big fishing nets, so they're able to pull up loads and loads of money. Everybody else, might have maybe a little ski boat or a jet ski or a canoe or a paddle. The vast majority of us have no boat at all. We're sitting on the banks of the river with our fishing pole, fishing for our money. And that fishing hook's only going to get you so much. Whereas the wealthy have huge fishing nets in the middle of the ocean where all the fish are. But every now and then, a generation or so, that river changes course and moves in a different direction. Do you know what the wealthy do? They pull up their anchor and they float with the river in a new direction. Do you know what the rest of us that's sitting on that bank are doing? We're still fishing in an empty pond or a smaller pit of water, and all of us is trying to fish in this little pond, but we haven't realized that the water just changed course. It didn't dry up.
Wow.
It just moved.
Wow.
But we don't know to be able to look up to see, maybe I need to start trotting over where the new river is. This is the new river of money, the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. Only this time, you can move with the river. You can be in the deep end with the wealthy. In fact, you can be in the deep end before the wealthy. Because one thing the wealthy do, yes, they look at what's going on in the future, but they also want to preserve the system that they already have. And when they realize that it's inevitable that this is taking place, then they're going to shift. That shift has not happened yet. This is where the revolution's taking place. And you can get in before the shift happens. Does that make sense? Say aye.
Aye.
All right, next. Here's another reason. Let's say you do not have an entrepreneurial mindset. You're still stuck in the, I gotta work, I gotta get my 9-to-5 job. I was taught to go to school, get good grades, and get a good, safe, secure job to take care of me for the rest of my life, and that's all you know, that's all you're gonna ever do, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not right or wrong. It's just a choice on how you want your life to be lived, and what you desire. That's a choice. But for the vast majority of people that are stuck in that mindset, it's still at your peril to ignore cryptocurrency. I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki that changed my life. I also read by Wallace D. Wattles. And then I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. That one changed my life. Then also The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. And there's another book called The New Businessman of the 21st Century. And they try to predict the next 100 years of what business is going to look like. And it was like all about the internet. But it had limitations to it because they didn't even know the blockchain was going to hit. The blockchain didn't make all this possible. But here's what's going to happen. All the businesses right now are preparing to integrate blockchain technology. We are currently sending our kids to college to prepare for a world that will no longer exist by the time they graduate. They will be ill-prepared, ill-ready, and loaded with debt. Because the biggest companies this world has ever seen have not been created yet. And they're going to come out of this blockchain. So if you do not know and learn about this, and you are looking for a job, you're going to start seeing on resumes or applications, do you have word skills, Excel skills, spreadsheet, how many words you type a minute, how proficient are you on blockchain technology, how do you know exchanges or coding and all this other stuff. And you're going to look at that, what? Blockchain what? It's going to be on the application. Think about when the information age hit Silicon Valley. The biggest jobs in demand that were looking for workers was people who can build websites, computer programmers. It was their heyday in the information age in the late 90s. Right now, even I was at the Crypto Invest Summit, they said we have a lack of people who know about blockchain so that we can hire to build our companies. I was visiting my father and his best friend was over and he said, so, I want to invest. What good blockchain company can I invest in? I said, no way. It's not about a blockchain company. It's what companies are implementing blockchain technology that you can invest in. Because any company out there that puts either Bitcoin or crypto at the end of their new name, their stock shoots up and rises. Not by doing anything different, just by adding Bitcoin to the name of their company. So if you're looking for a job and you don't know about the blockchain, you will be left behind. If you're an investor, then that's different. You still need to know about this technology so that you can invest with education, invest wisely, with minimal risk. Make no mistake, this is a very volatile industry. You can lose money just as fast as you make money. The difference is if you have some education, you limit your risk. You don't eliminate your risk. I shared this last night at dinner. I can guarantee every single one of you that get involved in this industry, just like those who get involved in the stock market and investing in real estate, you will lose somewhere along the way. I can guarantee you're going to lose something. I don't know how much. I don't know when or where or how or why. The good news is that with your education, your gains, your wins, far outweigh your losses. And it's another training that I do where you take emotion out of it. If you think this is Vegas, you're out of the game. Don't even get involved. This is education, and this is wise investments in this field. If you can't stomach losing anything, do not get involved at all. The only way you lose in Bitcoin and crypto is when you actually sell. See, it's like real estate. If you buy a house and the housing market goes up in value, was it extra room added to the home?
No.
Did it do anything different than it's a house? It stays the same. The value goes up, the value goes down. You lose when you sell when the house, the volume was down. You hold on to it, wait for the market to come back up. That's the difference between Bitcoin and futures or Forex. With Bitcoin, if the market goes down and you decide to sell here, you lost. What if you just held it and the market goes back up? You still have your Bitcoin. You still have the value. Long-term thinking here. This is not a get rich quick. So always know this. Sell high, buy low. Okay? Sell high, buy low. But it's the jobs of the future. Just like investors, forget the stock markets. There is no barrier of entry for cryptocurrency. I started with $30. I know people that started with $5. Somebody started with $2. I interviewed a gentleman at the Crypto Invest Summit who started, he had 400K and flipped that into 50 million in 6 months. And you know the most important thing he said on the tape? You can go on my Facebook page and see it. Education is the key. That's what he said. And he said, I'm going to make so much more money because he said, all these people out here don't know anything about this. But I do, and I'm going to take their money because they're going to lose it. Education is the key. When I went to the Blockchain Expo in London in March or April of this year, I was excited. I was going to go there. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to meet new businesses. And I go in and I start listening. I listen more than I speak in these events. And I'm like, that's not right. That's not true what he said. I'm talking to the guy on stage saying something. That's not right. And all the people in the audience, yeah. They're about to lose money doing that. And then I go to the booths of the companies. The companies are sponsoring it. They have their booths set up, their new blockchain thing. And I can tell whoever the CEO was brought staff in. And I started asking them questions. And once I got them off the talking points, they were clueless. They didn't know what I was talking about when the question I asked. And she's like, like deer caught in headlights. And he said, well, I just kind of was looking, I got a free flight to London from my company. I'm just passing out the flyers. Wow. She was honest, at least. 50% of the room didn't even understand what blockchain was at the Blockchain Expo. And 50% of the room wasn't even from London. There was people who flew in out from London. So all the people when I walked out of the arena, walking down the streets of London, clueless. It's like the Matrix. It's like when you're Morpheus or you're Neo, and you walk out and you realize all these people are still plugged into the system.
Yep.
They're taking the blue pill. It's time to take the red pill. Wake up. That's what this is. You're taking the red pill today, guys.
Right.
This is a new way of life. The reason why most people ignore it because they don't see it. But what they don't know is all the companies that they do business with are implementing it. Amazon, IBM, Bank of America. Bank of America owns over 40 Bitcoin and blockchain patents. At the same time as they're saying Bitcoin is a scam. IBM is partnering up with Ripple, partnering up with Bill Gates, and they are implementing blockchain technology in their entire system. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, you gotta watch him. He's gonna be a trillionaire. Is implementing blockchain technologies for supply chain initially. But its applications are immense. It's gonna be everywhere. You're not gonna be able to buy anything off of Amazon without crypto coins. And I predict they're going to come up with their own coin. Their own e-commerce coin. It's already in the works. Economic collapse. I'm not here to give you doom and gloom, or be conspiracy theorists, or to scare you. I'm not a hype guy. I keep it real. Reality. The reality is, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the economic collapse happens. We cannot sustain at this pace $21 trillion in debt. 2008 happened because there was no blockchain, that we were all able to see all these illegal transactions and scams that the banks were doing. They were doing it behind our back. We didn't know what was going on. And they knew it was going to happen. But their mentality was, let's make as much money as we can off of these poor people, and guess what? There's nothing going to happen to us, because did anybody go to jail yet? No. Businesses and banks that were too big to fail. And who paid the tab? Tax dollars. You know? Imagine a hurricane. And when you have a Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico last year, you've got these bands on the hurricane. And as it moves, the front end bands start to hit land. And you got the reporter standing out there. Some of them acting like the one standing there. No, I'm not going to go there. You know what I'm talking about. But that first initial damage happens, and as the storm moves, you get into the eye of the storm. And that eye of the storm is now calmness. It's a false state. You're looking up at, you see clear blue sky. You might see clouds in the distance, but there's no more rain, no more water, no more wind. Bands. Last 10 years, we have been in the eye of the storm. But the hurricane doesn't stay there. It continues to move. Where the real damage is done is the back ends of that hurricane. Because the front end of it weakened everything. The back end wiped away Mexico Beach. That's where the deaths take place. Because they can't get help in first service because it's too dangerous. 2008 was the first win. The next economic collapse, we're not in a position to bail out businesses and banks like we were in 2008. It's going to be every man for themselves. I'm not going to go into whether it be a run on the bank or whatnot. I will tell you this, that the government is prepared. It's not prepared to bring back society as you know it. It's preparing for a new way of life. Right. You might see something called the Fed coin that comes into play, where the government creates something called digital currency that they're going to call cryptocurrency because that's what you guys are exposed to. But it's digital currency. It's not the same. They control it. So if you want access to the money in your banks, you all of a sudden need to have a card or the government card that's the Fed coin that you can buy and sell goods and trades and still access to your bank account. They're going to call it cryptocurrency. It's digital currency because they control it. The whole idea of crypto is that it's anonymous, is that it's not controlled by anybody. It's decentralized. It's important that you understand the difference. Because most people don't even understand crypto. They definitely aren't going to understand this difference. And they're going to think it's safe and secure because the government took over. All the government is doing is moving from one medium of control to another. I'm not going to go into the book of Revelations. The ability to buy and sell things only if you have the mark. It's a whole other story. But this is going to happen. You know why I know this is going to happen? Not because my broke cousin Pookie on the corner said so, but because J.P. Morgan just 2 days ago came out with a report. J.P. Morgan, one of the largest banks in the world. J.P. Morgan said 80% chance that the United States has an economic recession bigger than 2008 in the next 3 years. We're about to go into 2019. Hold on, 2019, 20, 21. This has a greater than 50-50 chance in the next 2 years. So at best, we have 1 year to prepare. 1 year to prepare. Not 1 year to wait and then let the government help us. 1 year to get our personal finances, our situation straight. I love what Jim Rome said. His number one goal is to build a financial wall so big that nobody could penetrate around his family. He took control. Each and every one of you can also take control financially. But you have to make the decision to do so, and now you have a vehicle that you can make it happen. It's hope. But what are the billionaires doing? I never listen to what they say, I follow what they do. Because they can say anything. And they say things on purpose to fool the rest of you. One thing I learned about rich people, they never tell you everything to be like them. They may tell you a little bit, but they won't tell you everything. And sometimes you might get misinformation. Anybody heard of Jamie Dimon? This is why financial literacy is so important. This man is the CEO of a company that does over $6 trillion a day in business around the world. The chairman of one of the largest banks in the world, J.P. Chase. He came out last year and said that Bitcoin was a scam. Bitcoin was going to get somebody killed. Bitcoin is the worst thing that ever happened. That if anybody in his company was caught selling or trading Bitcoin, they were going to get fired. You know what happened to the crypto market after he said that? It went down. Do you know what he did 2 days later? Bought up the most Bitcoin NFT assets in the world on the New Zealand Stock Exchange or crypto market. New Zealand charged him with money laundering and fraud and market manipulation, and he was found guilty. You know all he did? I'll just pay the fine. They didn't throw me in jail in 2008. What makes you think they're going to throw me in jail over something called Bitcoin? Now his company is leading the way in Bitcoin and blockchain developments. I never listen to what the billionaires say. Follow what they do. So if these billionaires and industry giants are preparing for this, then shouldn't you as well? And let's go over that. Don't take my word for it. New York Stock Exchange is creating the cryptocurrency trading platform back in collaboration with who? Microsoft and Starbucks. How many people know Microsoft? How many people know Starbucks?
I do.
They're getting involved. You use these things, which means you're going to be getting involved with physically backed Bitcoin futures contracts. Fidelity, anybody heard of Fidelity Investments?
Yes.
Fidelity is offering Bitcoin futures contracts to its clients and has been mining it since 2015. Bitcoin futures contracts. Anybody ever heard of futures contracts? Not too many people. People with money know what that means. But the financially illiterate do not know what this means. This means millionaires are getting in on the game. People with real money is coming into the space. Steve Wozniak, heard of him? Co-founder of Apple Computer. Most people know Steve Jobs. But Steve, the other Steve, they call him the Woz. Multi-billionaire. He got in on Bitcoin admittedly early. He sold all his Bitcoin in 2017 when it was at its height. When they asked why'd you sell, he said, I don't believe that it's going to be here long term. It's a little scary and volatile, so I just sold all of it. No. Don't believe that hype. Him, Bill Gates, I wouldn't put it past them to be in on Satoshi Nakamoto. So they know more about crypto than all of us combined. They've been watching it since its beginning. He sold because he knew the market was about to drop and it was at $20,000 a coin. Why? Because he was just a guest speaker at the Crypto Invest Summit here in LA. 8 months. You sell all your coins and 8 months later you're on the panel talking about crypto. He never left the industry. He just told you guys that because he needs the market to go down. You guys sell all your Bitcoin so that they can buy all of the Bitcoin. Buy it for cheap. They're purposely keeping the market down right now. They're hoarding Bitcoin. Katy Perry. Anybody know Katy Perry? Katy Perry just Instagram, she got her nails done with all the other crypto coins. Litecoin, Ethereum, Monero, Bitcoin. And what did she say? Crypto claws. Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation. One member on our team, I did a crypto talk a couple weeks ago. And I started hearing Ripple. And as a disclaimer, I am not a licensed financial advisor to be giving financial advice. I just read the news, share my opinion, give suggestions, and it is up to you to make an informed, intelligent decision when you want to invest. So don't take anything that I say and you want to run to invest. But all I do is read the news. And I was reading the news, and Bill Gates all year has been negative about crypto. Him and Warren Buffett have been talking all bad about it. All of a sudden, the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation partnered up with a company using Ripple on the Ethereum blockchain. Why? Oh yeah, we want to solve world poverty, and we know that there's 2 billion people in the world that don't have access to a bank account. We want to help them get access to a bank account. No, what they see is 2 billion people that they're not getting fees on because they don't have access to a bank account. They want to bring them into the system. You got to be able to read between the lines, understand what's really going on here. But all of a sudden now, multi-billion-dollar, $40 billion foundation is in Ripple, crypto. Well, my point was when I read that article, one of the people on our team took that information, bought up a whole bunch of Ripple, and a week later Ripple went up by 100% and she made a whole lot of money. And then she bought a mining rig with it. IBM. IBM is partnering with Stellar for cross-border payment solutions. Their biggest issues with big banks and businesses is how do we make payments across borders without having to go through all the other hoopla. IBM. Major League Baseball. Any baseball fans here? What's the team? The Phillies? MLB is launching a crypto-based game on the blockchain using the ERC 721 standard for non-fungible tokens. That may be a foreign language to you. You go through our course, you understand what ERC means. It's Ethereum token. Crypto baseball. George Soros. Sure, you might have heard that name lately in the news. George Soros initially bashed cryptocurrency, only to later buy a stack of Bitcoin at the 6K level. They know what's going on. Billionaires are going to remain it one way. They know the river is changing and they're pulling up anchor right now, but they don't want you guys following. Alibaba and IBM. Anybody heard of Alibaba before? Raise your hand. The richest man in China, Jack Ma. Alibaba went on the New York Stock Exchange and became the largest IPO in American history, and it's not even an American company. It's like the Asian version of Amazon. They partnered with IBM. Now, the thing is, Jack Ma has been running his mouth against Bitcoin all year. You've got a group that say, we don't like the crypto part, but we do like the blockchain technology. We want to implement the technology. We don't like that crypto stuff because you guys have control of your money, which means they don't have control. So they would rather create a digital coin that they can control that you use than you having freedom for yourself. Always remember that. But they're partnering and they have blockchain patents all over the world. Yale University, you ever heard of Yale University? Yale's endowment invested $400 million in crypto asset funds. $400 million. Yeah, my school, Morehouse College, $400 million. Winklevoss twins took $11 million of their Facebook money and put it into Bitcoin in 2013 when it was $120 each. You do the math. Today it's worth $6,400. You do the math. Jack Dorsey, heard of him? CEO of Twitter and Square thinks Bitcoin is the currency of the future. Richard Branson, heard of him? He's got an island called Necker Island that once a year he has a private blockchain event for the who's who of the world, meaning millionaires and billionaires. And they come on that island for 3 days and they talk amongst themselves and plan and plot. And he's been doing this for years. He thinks Bitcoin will bring an economic revolution. I keep hearing that word revolution popping up. Square Cash. Square Cash's app allowed users to buy and sell Bitcoin now. Coinbase. Coinbase is valued at $8 billion. It just got started a couple years ago. $8 billion today. Binance made more profit in the second quarter of 2018. And those of you who don't know what Binance is an exchange where you go to buy and sell cryptocurrencies. That's the largest volume in the world. Just second quarter of this year, they made more money, more profit than Deutsche Bank. That's been here forever. Clues. Reddit. I know Serena Williams? Reddit co-founder and husband of Serena Williams, Alexis, is betting on Bitcoin as a hedge against, or a hedge to the economic crisis. So he's already rich. He knows an economic crisis is coming. So he's using Bitcoin and crypto as a buffer, as a safe zone. The same way in the old days that the stock market was going crazy, that people would put their money into like art paintings, real estate, or they put it into gold and precious metals to save the value as they knew money was going to drop. The new gold is Bitcoin now. He's starting to see that. Akon, anybody know Akon? He's building Wakanda over there in Africa right now. Launching his own cryptocurrency, A-Coin, to help bring security to the currency system in Africa. He's doing a whole lot more than that. His brother right here is about to be one of the richest men in the world.
Yep.
Chamath Palihapitiya. He's a co-owner of the Golden State Warriors. He invested early in Bitcoin and thinks it's going to go to, what did he say? $1 million per coin.
Oh my God.
What is the price right now?
6,100.
Now do you see why I say you want to buy a Bitcoin right now and own at least one and put it away? We're going to talk about wallets this afternoon. Not my broke cousin Pookie. When you go to Thanksgiving, and you know how family is. I always got a cousin, somebody that's chewing on some chicken or something, gonna look at me, hey, you still doing that Bitcoin thing? You still working a job? $1 million per coin. I have friends, we have people in our company that have hundreds of Bitcoin right now that they're sitting on. Steve Bannon, everybody know that name? Right-hand man of Donald Trump in the White House.
Wow.
You can't get any higher than that. Launching his own cryptocurrency. Bill Clinton, Gary Cohn, NFL, NBA. But at the end of the day, they all know one thing. Bitcoin is freedom. Bitcoin can be your freedom. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. We're now going to break away for lunch. And when we come back, you're going to hear a little small presentation of KGX. You're going to hear green mining. We're going to go over wallets and give away Bitcoin for free. Who wants some free Bitcoin? Yeah.